Welcome to Glorious Botafogo, the only place on the internet that brings you Botafogo news in English, even when I'm sick. Botafogo beat Sampaio Corrêa today at the Newton Santos Stadium, another match at home, by 2-0. Junior Santos with a banger of a header, and Jefinho at the dying seconds of the second half put the Alvinegro up 2-0. There are some highlights in this match. That was the debut of goalkeeper John, that didn't really have to do a lot of work. It was also the debut of Savarino, that had a very solid first half. He only played one half. He's still kind of trying to get to the level of fitness that his teammates have. And he's not quite there yet, and that's completely fine. He really hasn't been playing much since he left Real Salt Lake. I think last match he had was with his national team, the Venezuela national team, in which he scored a goal. So it was not a bad debut. Bastos had a great game today. It seems like having patience paid off. Another player that had a great performance today was Newton. He's originally sort of a defensive midfielder, but he's playing as a center back on the right. Remembering that this was the reserve team that Botafogo played with today. It was not the starting team. The press conference today after the match, Thiago Nunes said that he has in mind the 7 to 8 players that will be like the body ones that are considered starters. And he said there's always 2 to 3 to even players that will not always be starting due to for whatever reason. But he always is going to have about 7 to 8 players that are always going to be starters, if the conditions are right, if there's no injuries, no cards, nothing like that. So it's great to see that he's already thinking about a starting team and then who to swap here and there. In the press conference, Thiago Nunes was also questioned about the arrival of Luiz Henrique. The news broke out like wildfire on Thursday when Fabrizio Romano posted on his Twitter or X page that Botafogo, that John Textor, he was calling it the Textor Group, was negotiating with Real Betis in the signing of Luiz Henrique. The first reports came out and said that the signing was going to be for Lyon, but that was not the case. Fabrizio Romano made some corrections later on, affirming that the negotiations were with Botafogo. And then on Friday, Romano posted his famous "here we go" post when a player is signed and the deal is done for Luiz Henrique and Botafogo for a record purchase of 20 million euros, which would make this the highest purchase fee of a player for Botafogo and of the Brasileirão, all-time highest. But here's the but. Nothing has been signed yet. There is no signing. Luiz Henrique and Botafogo did not sign any papers on Friday. Now, there is an agreement between Botafogo, John Textor, and Real Betis. There is an agreement between all of those parties that the player will come and play for Botafogo. John Textor's, multi-club ownership and placing a project for the player to be able to transfer back into Europe, not only into the Premier League, but into the League One under Lyon. It's a project. So yes, Luiz Henrique, if signing for Botafogo, because he's only going to be a Botafogo player if his name is on the dotted line, if Real Betis signs a dotted line, sends it back to Textor sends it back to Botafogo, and then the legal department can do all the paperwork and finally put him in and say, okay, yes, he's a Botafogo player, and announce it. So that, I don't know if you noticed, but that hasn't been done yet. So yes, there is an agreement of purchase, but he is not a Botafogo player yet. Don't forget that just a week or two ago, Botafogo announced Wilson Manafá, and it turns out that he's now in China. So let's be very careful because it might come back to bite us in the ass if this is not signed. Okay? I am guilty of feeling the hype of the original post that came from Romano, because if it comes from Romano, it is 99% of the time going to happen. But we know our club. We know what we've been through very recently. So John Textor sat down with Luiz and his family, presented the entire project. The player at first did not want to go back to Brazil. He wanted to go stay in Europe and play for Lyon. But John Textor convinced him, and he is going to play for Botafogo. So we will see. I'm waiting on that signed paper. I'm waiting on that dotted line before making the final call, the final decision. Because when Romano said it was going to be signed on Friday and he wasn't, and there's nothing being said about it, so I immediately take a more cautious approach, okay? I'm being cautious about it. I want Luiz Henrique to play because I think Jefinho on the left, Luiz Henrique on the right, Savarino right behind Chiquinho is going to be a menace. It is going to be the strongest, if not the top 3 strongest attacking quartet in the Brasileirão. Okay? Now, what's going on with the other positions? John Textor is right now in Orlando, Florida. He went to the Flamengo in Orlando City friendly, a match which ended 1-1. Unfortunately, I wanted Orlando City to win. And he went there for, here's the deal. Okay? I saw a lot of people complaining that John Textor was at that stadium today. Why? Why are you complaining? Weren't some of you guys complaining that the fact that the Manafá deal did not go through is because we did not have somebody go over there, look them eye in the eye, sign the paper to bring the player home? But now John Textor is in Orlando City, which is basically his backyard. John Textor doesn't live very far from Orlando. In a stadium that is Orlando City Stadium, is not even a Flamengo stadium because, one, Flamengo doesn't have a stadium, okay? They share the Maracanã with Fluminense. Okay, so Flamengo doesn't have a stadium. So they are at Orlando City, in which a team from Brazil is a visitor in a part of town that he doesn't live very far from, in the middle of active negotiations. And you guys are complaining that he's over there doing his political part, trying to bring a player in which, okay, it may not be the name that we want, but is a position that we have been begging and begging and begging since last year. Or have you guys forgotten that we've been begging John Textor and Mazuco to bring us up right back? But now we're actually bringing an actual right back to play this position, okay, with Mateuzinho. So John Textor's over there lunging eye to eye, which is Flamengo's president, and trying to get this negotiation done. And then he went to see a football match at a stadium that is right next door to him. And if you guys, it's not even like he's watching the game in Brazil. Like, he's not going to a Flamengo game in Brazil, right? Instead of going to a Botafogo game. If you guys saw on the internet, John Textor was outside of the stadium making a phone call. He found a quiet little place amongst a sea of red Flamengo supporters. He found himself a quiet place to make a phone call. Totally different environment, totally different mood. It's different. Okay? And some of you guys can say, oh, he's watching Flamengo, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. I don't like Flamengo. Fuck Flamengo. Nobody gives a shit about Flamengo. Okay? I don't. And if you can go on my Twitter X page, when John Textor said, today I'm cheering from Brazil, I didn't think that was the right call to make. I am hoping it was more like a political post, you know, like politicians say. But I did not think that was a good idea. I did not like it. I recoded his post and I said, today I'm cheering for the USA. Sorry, John Textor. But you will never catch me cheering for the Devils team. Never. It ain't going to happen. I am not cheering for the Devils team. Flamengo is the Devils team. And if you like the Devil, then you don't like humanity. All right? Now, listen. I think it was A very smart decision for John Textor to be at that stadium today, okay? He met some Botafogo fans. He got to spend some time with Gonçalves, the legendary Botafogo defender Gonçalves. He got to spend some time with him today because Gonçalves lives in Orlando. So there's a lot of good things that happened at that stadium today. And one of them was a discussion of signing a right back, which is a much needed position in our squad. We don't have one. Another transfer news is Wendell. Now, it doesn't seem like Botafogo will be able to close the signing of Wendell for this transfer window, but the club is already working on having him for the middle of the window. So it seems like Wendell is going to be a Botafogo player at the start of the second transfer window, much like when we got Diego Costa last year and Eduardo Chiquinho the previous middle of the year summer window. Winter window in Brazil, summer window rest of the world. So I'm okay with that. I mean, if you can't have him now, then might as well have him later, right? I think he's going to be a great addition. He's a great player. I think we should still try to go for a player in that position or bring us center back or two so Danilo Barbosa doesn't have to be pulled back to play on that position. That way Danilo Barbosa can go back to playing his original position, and then we would have Cheche, Marlon Freitas, Danilo Barbosa. Would have more names in that area of the pitch that Thiago Nunes can work with. So let's see, especially with the improvement of Bastos and how he's been doing. I think it's okay. I think it's fair for Danilo to move back up again and let the center backs do their center back things. But we still need another one at least. Okay, if Thiago Nunes is going to play a 4-4-2, then one more. But if he's going to keep on that 3-5-2 formation, then we need two more center backs. If indeed Luiz Henrique gets signed to Botafogo, I would do a dedicated separate video explaining what was John Textor's whole reasoning behind signing him and what does that do for the club presence in the world, and most importantly in the world of social media, and just how fast information travels, and it's all about branding, recognition, all that kind of stuff. It's all jargon that I learned in school, but that I will be happy to talk about here in this channel. But the deal's got to be signed first. If you've gotten here so far, please press the like, subscribe if you haven't already, whether you're on X, if you're on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, please continue to follow me on YouTube and click the bell so you can see all the posts, get all the notifications about all the posts, especially after I'm here, after being really sick for about 2 days. I was really sick for 2 days, and I'm still obviously not better, but I'm feeling about 60% better. So I'm here, 60% better, making a video for you. So like, share, subscribe. Yeah, tell all your friends about this, even if they are not Botafogo supporters. But, I'm spreading the word about Brazilian football. And Botafogo on top of it. And that's all that matters. So thank you so much. Catch you on the next one.